gonna take my time. I'll sing this song now. Take your time, Jim. A chair, a sweet chair. Yeah, there's no one sitting there. It's not a house, and a house is not a home when there's no one there to hold you tight. There ain't no one there. You can't good night. A room, let's see the room. There's nothing there but love. But it's not a house, and a house is not a home when thoughts go down. A home and one of us. A broken heart. Don't you remember the time? Peace, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. All right? You know you are now listening to Foundational Friday on Enlightenment and Transformation. Many of you know that I am Chief Yuya, and you are listening to our spiritual, or they're all spiritual, but our primarily focused spiritual segment of The Strong, which of course we call Foundational Friday. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. I see some of you already on the phone lines, and I see some of you already on the YouTube side. So, you know, many ways to get in, many ways to tune in. I want to give you all the call-in number that we're using for now, because you know things are always changing around here. But if you want to call in and speak or ask a question or whatever, just be heard, you can call in at 347-945-7680. I'll give it again, 347-945-7680. And you can call in and you can speak to the Enlightenment Transformation family, the New Nation family, the Sadulu House family. And last but not least, you can speak to me. All right. So again, that call-in number is 347-945-7680. And all you have to do is hit the number 1 once you call in, and then everybody can hear you and we can move on from there. All right. So quick recap. Yesterday, we had a good talk. Kind of a general show on Thunderground Thursday, but we got to really build on the idea of authenticity and going through process, taking yourself through a proper procedure, through a proper process, and owning the action that is to follow the revelation. And, we got a lot of nice fuel and spark from a wonderful individual who called, who had expressed that she had been in the Ifa spiritual tradition for 20 years and had a lot of issues finding people who are real, who are authentic, and not just who have that, but also who are knowledgeable. And one of the things that I had impressed upon her was that, if you've been in this for 20 years, then now you have a responsibility to serve, to really show an action that reflects what it is that you receive. So that kind of coincided with the earlier aspect, or the earlier theme that I had shared of, your spiritual revelations should call forth divine spiritual action. It's got to be something associated with it. It just can't be about the accumulation of information and knowledge forever. At some point we have to apply what it is that we're learning, share what it is that we're learning, especially based on the Odu for this year. You all know that Odu was Otuapon Wonrin, but that sharing aspect is critical, the aspect of giving the sage wisdom. And if you've been in something for 2 decades, not to say that you know everything about it, because you may still be struggling with certain things, but if you've been in something for 2 decades, you probably know more than someone who's been in it for 2 days, so there's always something to share and to offer. And there are people always looking for some kind of direction, and they're thirsty for it. You don't have to go out and evangelize to everyone that you meet, but when those are thirsty for it, come to you and say, yeah, I need a little help, or I'm a little confused in this point and that point, hey, you got 20 years in, you can help. So this brings us to not only the reason why I played the song that I did starting off this segment, House is Not a Home, right? But also the reason for the show and the title of the show, House is Not a Home, right? I was thinking about it yesterday, because obviously much of my focus and concentration when I'm sharing revolves around the idea and the principles of family. And many times I try to share that that's the highest science. If you get that piece right, many other pieces will fall in place. And really, other aspects to what we're doing here will make more sense when you understand that the spiritual and scientific and political formulas that go into the building of a healthy, functional family. Okay. So made me think about something. A lot of times when people call, especially on Sundays, for dream interpretation, one of the first things they'll say, or a lot of times what's in people's dreams is houses. Some of you may be familiar with that in your own dreams. Maybe a lot of times your dream is revolving around a house. You're running out of a house, going into a house. You're in a house, you're looking at a house from a distance. Somebody's inviting you into a house. But you'll find that with dreams, it's usually you're moving. You're either walking, flying, or you're in a house, or you're in a vehicle of some sort, like a truck or like a boat or something like that. So in reference to some of the things that we were speaking about yesterday, and in regards to some of the things that we're going to talk about today, I said, hey, why don't I share some insights on the value and the principles of what a house is, and because, again, this is our spiritual segment. And that way, too, next time you may have a vision, night vision, or what some of you like to call dreams. But I say dreams are for children. Visions are for adults. But anyway, whether you want to call it, it's fine. But next time you have one, you may have one about a house, and you may have further insight to kind of dive into it and dip into it and figure out what it is. As much as you may imagine and hope, my favorite pastime is not dream interpretation. It's a gift that I have, so I share it and I do it. But I definitely enjoy more when people put the work in to discovering and uncovering what's going on in their own head, which kind of leads us to what we're talking about. So there's a value of a house or a home and our spiritual world in terms of symbolic form. And as I've shared many times before, when we're dealing with symbolism, spiritual symbolism, we have to always understand that those spiritual entities, forces, or identities, they don't speak language as you and I understand and perceive language to be. Okay, they don't say, okay, here, go over there, pick that up, pick this up, pick that. It doesn't work like that. All right, it's symbol. And then what happens is that in an instance, we interpret the symbol as a language. Okay, and that's an amazing thing because it allows us to interact with local and global spirits. Because you may be interacting with a spirit in Rome or Greece, right? And but you may live in Chicago or Trinidad, and you'll interact with that energy and still you'll understand it in your dream world. It's not just because Eshu is a divine messenger and a translator of language, or the holder of what we call oro, just like the words, like speaking. But it's because those entities are actually communicating with you in a universal language of symbol. So that universal language of symbol then allows you to interpret things as you choose to and as you please. So a lot of times when I give readings for you guys in consultations, you notice I give you a lot of symbol first. I'll say, okay, the sacred Odu came forth, and this is the symbol. These are the symbols associated with this particular Odu. I'll start there. And then sometimes people will say, oh, wow, I've been seeing that and I've been dreaming about that. Or, I have that sticker on my car or something like that, or sometimes they'll just store it in and then they'll see it later. But I know a lot of times you can get more out of the symbols and the shapes and the sacred geometry than you can just out of me giving you language, you see, because language is so easy to forget, and language doesn't have the same liberty, or it doesn't hold the same law and container as a symbol does. All right. So we're talking about the symbolism of a home. Or symbolism of a house, because obviously they're two very different things, as we were just told in that song. So based on that, now we should know better, right? We know that a house is not a home, right? So a house, first thing for you to understand, a house symbolizes you. Anytime you experience a house in a vision, you are looking at yourself. Number one. Okay, so one of the terms we use sometimes, right? I got to get my house in order. Yeah, I got to get my act together, get my house in order. But what does that mean? Does it mean that I got to organize my house and get plastic bins and wall shelves? No, when you say I got to get my house in order, you mean I got to get my act together. I got to clean up my culture. I got to clean up the way I do things, my mind. And it may be everything straight down the board, my body. I got to get in shape and stop eating so much junk. I got to, start striving towards higher things. I got to get my sex life in order. Getting my house in order is always, even outside of the quote unquote dream world, because we're in the dream world, but getting my house in order is always a representation of getting myself in order and organized, right? So we understand that movement from disorganization to organization is really a movement from chaos to organization. Okay, well, this is how you create a world. So when you say I want to get my house in order, or I need to get my house in order, in fact, what you're saying is that it's time for me to create the world for myself. It's time for me to create the structures and the beings and the energies that are going to live within my world. Well, how do we know that? Because some of you may be familiar with the Yoruba term Amole or Imale. Okay, and Amole, which is Imole, you have Imale, which is Imale. Yes, and in Yoruba, the I's are typically pronounced like E's, so it would be Imole, and A's, if you want your I, if you're missing the I sound, then you would get your I from the A. Okay, so like Aye, Babalu Aye, which is, Aye is Aye, and sometimes A will give you like or even eh, but it's A is typically I in some form, some kind of I. All right, but anyway, back to the idea of Amole, right? What are the Amole? Well, we understand that the Amole are primordial energies that were created and produced in order to create the world as we know it, not people, but the world as we know it. Okay, and the word Amole by itself means light, or it means that which is difficult to do. And back in the days, Amole was a term that was used to identify Muslims. They were called they were called Male, and then from Male it became Imale or Imole. Okay, so there was always a connection even with Islam as being somewhat arduous. I mean, you have to imagine too, when you have a certain type of flow and your spirituality is deeply ingrained and entrenched into your culture and lifestyle, and you see someone come along with so many rules and regulations, like, oh man, with your hair cover, you gotta this, that, pray 5 times a day, to make salute to the heart chakra, make salat to Allah. So you have all those different things, and you say, man, that's hard. So you get that title Imale or Male. I mean, that's one, there's other reasons behind it, but so that term Amole, meaning light, right? The Amole was some of the first primordial beings. So we understand that the Amole came from a place of chaos and disarray and organized the universe into what we know it to be today. Well, I mean, you think about it, basic scientific premise. This is kind of like most theories of creation of the world. You even think about the Big Bang theory. This big explosion of light, and then the cooling of those particles now creates organized organisms, right? So, but we understand something very simple, that there was a sense of disarray or chaotic vibration, like Nun, and it went to a path of array. It went to a path of order. It went to a path of organization. So we went from darkness to light, or we went from chaos to order, or we went from feminine to masculine. Okay, like I always tell you guys, the masculine principle is the organizing principle of the material of creation, which is the feminine principle. Got to have them both. Okay, so we know the first explosion, or the first thing that came forth, was Amole. Now, here's an interesting thing. Amole, separate, break the words down, right? You have Amole. Amole is actually Imo-ile. Okay, Imo-ile. But a lot of the Yoruba words are shortened, like just like Babalu Aye we spoke about earlier. Babalu Aye is Baba Oluwa Aye. Okay, but we bring it down to even shorter, like Babalu, Babalu. But yeah, Baba Oluwa Aye is the full form. I broke that down in the Babalu Aye show. You can go check that one out. But so yeah, we have Amole or Imo-ile. And Imo means knowledge, but Imo also means light by itself. It means knowledge. It means light. Imo also means like to share like the technical mechanics or the technical information about a thing. This is the Imo. Okay. And then Ile means home or house, more specifically. So if we put the two together, we realize that Imo-ile or Amole is the house of light or the house of knowledge. Okay, so that's why a lot of times the Orisha are called Amole, because they're considered to be houses of light or houses of knowledge. We also have the term Imale, which is also a Bantu term. You get that in the Swahili language, and we're told that Imale means angels. Okay, but you got to always like realize that whenever you're doing any type of interpretation, whenever you're trying to break something down, you can't just take you just can't go on Google and say, okay, there's a house and it means this, because it means that based on your cultural inferences. So for instance, if we say, well, if I'm not a Christian and you're a Christian, does the idea of a house mean the same thing? No, because you might immediately reference to, in my father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would not have told you. You make reference to the scripture that says, as of me and my house, from today forward we shall serve the Lord. So your references will go to that space immediately, and it may be a different meaning behind it, but my cultural references are going to help to define the symbolism that comes to me in my life, how I'm going to perceive it. Which is why whenever someone has a dream or something and you hear me and they call, I always say, well, what does it mean to you? I always start there, because we may not necessarily be adherents to the same cultural paradigms. My cultural paradigm is Anu. Okay, so a house for me is like a train station, you know, because a house for me is a spot in between to the palace. Okay, the chief is supposed to have a palace. So if you tell me, oh, I had a dream and you were in a house, oh, cool, but that ain't where I'm going. You know, so even for many other people, the idea of a palace, like when you look at the palace in the tarot, or really they call it the castle, right? The castle, or the like we spoke about earlier, the alafin or the olofin, you know, meaning the owner of the castle, the owner of the palace, that always represents our ambitions, our goals, our destinations. So even a lot of times when you see the castle or the palace written in tarot form or Kabbalic form, or if you even see it in the Zohar writings, one of the things that you'll always find in those writings is that it's far off. You know, it's like a ways off, you see. Even in Islam, you know, you don't necessarily have it. It's not referenced in the Quran or the Hadith, but you have the Dar es Salaam, you know, the house of Islam. You even have the house Dar or Dah, Dar Adah, or those are the words that we would use in Islam, you know, or Arabic to reference a home or a house, right? So this idea of a house means so many different things in so many different cultures, right? But then we have the universal meanings. And I'm telling you, universally, it's you. That is what the house is. Why? Think about what happens when you go to someone's house. And again, we have the same idea of the Amole or the Imale, which we understand are Orisha, right? So the Orisha are a part of the Amole. Not all Orisha are Amole, though. Because remember, the Amole were those foundating original energies that organized the universe. Not all of the Orisha that you know today were involved in that. Okay, but for time's sakes, I'm not going to start breaking down. Maybe we'll do that another day. I doubt if we will, though, because that's not something I would just throw out public. We could break that down in a workshop or something. So anyway, we have this idea of the Amole, the houses of light, or the house of light, or that which is difficult, right? Because why is it difficult? Because it's about that aspect of you that creates a world. So the house of light, and then you have in your own dream representation, you have homes and houses, right? Now, one of the main things we do, you know, if we're in someone's house, you know, what do we do sometimes? Just, you know, normal stuff. A lot of times we'll look around the house in order to size the person up, because the house tells us what's going on with that person. You have to understand that the house is your home, your current, wherever you're sitting right now, you're sitting in your home. The home represents the foundation, the foundational structure and framework of your mind. So you go into somebody's home, you know everything that's in their head. You know, if you see disorder, they have a mind that's disordered. And don't just look at it like, well, what's in the mind comes out in the home. No, the home is the mind. So a lot of times when you have dreams about a house or a home, and let's say you go into a house and it's like, man, this thing was like cobwebs all over the place and run down and shabby and whatnot like that. That's a representation of the current state of your mind. You see, if you have a vision and you go into a home where it's like beautiful, it's perfect, it's like, wow, this is what I always want. A lot of times what that means, if you're not currently living that in your life now, you're getting ready to make a transition into a more stable environment, into an environment where you can actually grow and develop in, right? You may have a home where, what's another example? Let's say it's got a leaky roof. And this is dream world, quote unquote. And this is also real world. If you're looking in your home right now, and you have a lot of repairs that need to be done, and it's just falling apart, that's a representation of how you're currently treating your mind. There's things that need to be addressed, and even your body, but there's things that need to be addressed that you're ignoring. If you have a leaky roof, let's say, so what does rain represent when it comes down? Well, rain is the expression of consciousness, right? Because what do we have above us? What above us represents not only our ambitions, but also our spiritual fathers and mothers, okay? Or even the Amole or the Orumole. Orun is, heaven, or some would say sky, and Male or Ile are the dwellers of it. So the Orumole are those who dwell in the sky, or basically we're talking about the people from heaven, those who live in heaven, right? Basically, it's actually deeper than that, but let's just stick with the basics right now. So when they rain down on you, they're sending messages to you. See, that's why children don't mind rain. They love to play in the rain. It's no big deal, because they understand that when they're in the rain, it's like a new world. It's different. It's a different level of communication that's coming down. So now you live in a house and it's got a leaky roof. What does that mean? That means, okay, you're receiving spiritual messages. You're receiving the blessings that you've been asking for, but you don't have the head or the character to sustain the value and the potency of the message. You see, that's why your roof is leaking. Something simple like this. You look at a person's attic, for instance. How many of us have attics that we don't go in because it's scary there? It's dusty, it's dirty, it's this, that. Well, that represents the higher aspects of your mind. You're not even, I bet you if you got a dusty, dirty attic, you also got shrines in your house that haven't been maintained properly. Can't get away from it, because they're connected to each other. The higher aspirations towards your goals and what you want to do are always going to be represented there. Just like what lies in your subconscious mind is always going to be on the basement floor of your house. So you got a basement and you got rodents down there, and what do they call them things? Is it water bugs? The big things that look like roaches. You got water bugs and this and that, and you don't like going in the basement, or it's scary, right? Oh, somebody come with me. I want somebody to come with me. Go in your own house. You don't want to go into what lies right beneath you. That represents how you feel about your subconscious mind. You see? So the way we arrange and the way we view and we approach our living environment is a representation of the way we view and we approach our mind and the foundations of who and what we are. So again, when you have this idea of Amole or Irumole, right? But mainly we're going to stick with Amole right now. When you have that idea in our Yoruba paradigm, you understand that the Amole symbolize the houses of life or the houses of difficulty, but we are the houses of life or light, are we not? So in many senses, you are the house, you see, and the different rooms and components of the house represent those different orisha. So you are the house of life. The rooms are the orisha, right? So we'll say, okay, let's I'm pulling an example. Okay, the kitchen, right? What does the kitchen represent in your home? Well, the kitchen is the heart and soul of the whole house, right? Because that's where you go to be nourished, right? So take a look at your kitchen. What does it look like? Is it disorganized? Does your refrigerator stink? Whatever would go on there, dirty dishes, mouse droppings, whatever, things are not organized in a way where you can cook efficiently and effectively. Then you're letting us know, you're not nourishing yourself. You don't take care of yourself. We can see that by the condition of the kitchen, because that's where Oshun lives. So you're not loving yourself. That's the heart chakra. Okay, cool. Got it. We may look at your bedroom, right? You may have a bedroom where you go in there and everything in there is like it's exposed in a certain way. As soon as you walk through the door, you can see everything in there. So then we know that you're maintaining no level of secret for yourself, because in your bedroom is where your secret should be. You may have pictures of yourself naked on the wall, or of your lovers naked on the wall, and all those different things that are personal and private to you, that you can go into your room and say, okay, this is where I can be me. You see, so now each one of those aspects, whether it be the kitchen, whether it be the bedroom or the bathroom, which represents your spiritual hygiene. Okay, so that's your bathroom is like your Obatala space. Okay, how clean is your bathroom? Sometimes you go to someone's bathroom and their home is so filthy, you'd rather just urinate out the window. It's like I don't even want to pull my genitals out in your home. It's disgusting in here, you know. So in that type of environment, it gives you an idea of how a person is working and developing and building with their Obatala. So each room in your actual home gives you an idea, and not just your rooms. I'm gonna tell you one part of a house that's always ignored. And when I go to people's houses, because I do a lot of home cleanses and things for people. So after a while, you get to like, you get to try all these theories out. Because I'm looking at your home, looking at you, or I might have done readings for you. And the readings, when I come to your house, I'm like, you didn't even need the reading, because everything that I told you in the reading, I'm looking at, I see it in your house. You see. Like there was one woman I worked with some years ago, I remember, and she had a lot of breakups in her life. Like she just couldn't really get it right with her relationships, and she seemed to have always been like moving. So we went to the house. She's like, I'm in a new place again, and Chief, can you come and do the work on it? So I was like, okay. I was in her area, so I said, when I'm down there, I'll look you up. So I came through. And there's boxes like all in the hallway. She was like, yeah, the rooms are cool. You can go in and out of the rooms. And I just keep pretty much my stuff stored in the hallways. And I was like, that's why you can't get a man. You can't keep a man. I said, we don't even have to do this home cleanse. I already know why you can't keep a man. Because what do your hallways represent in your life, in your house? They represent your transitions from one space to another. The hallways of your house are your Kundalini energy. They're your spine. They take you from one chakra to the next. They take you from the kitchen to the bedroom, to the bathroom, to the whatever room you got in your house, the living room, whatever. So if your hallways are not correct and respected, then you're not able to properly transition from space to space. And then you go through your hallways and you have all this baggage and cardboard boxes representing all of the things that you supposedly just left behind are now in your pathway. And what are you doing? You're stepping over them and walking around them instead of opening up those boxes and dealing with them. So you're not able to go from point to point and place to place. You see? So like there's a value, your hallway should be beautiful, because that's your transition point. Your bathroom should be clean. Your kitchens should be full of things that nourish you. Your bedroom should definitely hold your secrets. Your bottom floor and what lies beneath that, if you have a basement in your house or even just your ground floor, that should represent who and what you are. Then what goes above that? Your conscious mind. So the conscious mind should always be filled with the things that you're planning to do and you're working on in your life. So once we come up from that first floor, what should I be looking at in your dream world? I should be looking at a library. I should be looking at an office. I should be looking at the things that you're working towards, even your bedrooms, right? Because what do we work towards in our bedrooms? Sexual fulfillment, sexual expression, rest. That's a key piece. Rest, creating children, creating family. My second floor is going to represent that, the things that I'm working on, that I'm striving to do. And also it's the sanctuary, but where everyone can hold secrets, you see? So this idea of a house, we're saying in the title, even a house is not a home. The critical piece there, and just kind of thinking about it, is like you have a house structure, but the way you create a home from that house structure is by doing the difficult work that the Yoruba talk about when they say Amole or Imale, and they refer to Muslims in that way. They're saying they do a difficult work to refine who and what they are. So you may move into a house, but you know that you have to actually do work to make the house yours. So it's no different with your personage. You may move into a body. Well, okay, this is who I am, and this is what I represent right now. But in order to make it a picture for perfect environment, you have to put the work in. And each room or each space in your home, whether it be in your quote unquote dream or in your real life, represents the work that you need to do. And when it becomes picture perfect, then you're finally ready to settle down and have some stability. and only then. That's why when you have dreams like that, like, oh, I was in a beautiful house, that's a good sign. That means you're ready for stability now. And you're probably getting ready to come into some stability. You're having, again, dreams about, oh, I was in a palace, I was in a castle. That means you're probably about to hit one of your major goals in life. Because what's beyond the palace? What's beyond the castle, right? You always see the castle in the distance, or the palace or the castle on the hill. There's nothing greater than that. There's nothing bigger than that. So you may be having a dream about a palace in the distance for 30 years, but that's just because you may have been working on what you're working on for 30 years. There's nothing wrong with that, you see. But we understand and we learn these sciences and this information just directly by looking at our Yoruba studies, just understanding the value of Amole or Imale. Okay, so I'm going to take a break real quick, and then after this break, I'm going to be back with more of this. All right, be right back.
Are you ready to take action and rise to the next stage of your evolution? Then monthly life coaching services at osirislife.com are just for you. Osiris Life does not just focus on spiritual development. We offer a holistic approach to helping you realize your goals and teach you the tools to overcome any barriers to your success. Services at Osiris Life are provided on a monthly basis and include, but are not limited to, spiritual consultations and one-on-one coaching, instructionals via podcasts and videos, life mapping and goal tracking, anonymity, spiritual work done on your behalf, and there are 3 package levels to choose from. Take the steps to get your life on track and flourishing by purchasing a subscription package today at osirislife.com. We invite you to share in the power of goodwill by becoming an ANU Nation sponsorship partner. ANU Nation is a community design organization whose programs and services often depend on sponsors and philanthropic support from foundations, businesses, and generous individuals like you. Our sponsorship program provides involvement by our affiliates in the 5 major markets, plus the impact of an international media campaign. By partnering with us, you join a powerful movement that supports thousands of people who find healing and personal growth and development with our help. For more information and to purchase your sponsorship package today, please visit us at ANU Nation.
Of course, we've been going and going on this idea of home and a house being the home, right? And before we left for the break, I'm getting a note that my sound is breaking up. Okay, my sound is breaking up. All right, so we'll work on that. Hopefully it gets clear now. But like I said, you're back listening to more Foundational Friday and on enlightenment and transformation. And we're dealing with the idea of a house being a home. And how do we create this home out of a house? Well, you got to always remember, based on everything that we're sharing now, you probably understand now that a home or a house represents your will. It's your divine will. Okay. So your physical home right now, or your spiritual home and your visions and in your quote unquote dreams, or however it comes to you, maybe your meditations, you see yourself in a home. It doesn't matter. But however it comes to you, what you'll understand is that energy and that idea represents what it is. Your not only your memories and your knowledge, because you remember Amole, house of light, house of knowledge. Well, knowledge is, it rests within the brain, within the mind. Okay. So the house of my mind, the house of knowledge. So the home is going to represent the will that you have in your current life. You'll look around your home and you'll know exactly what you're thinking. You'll know exactly what you're doing. So even in a dream state, right? Even in a dream state, when you have a dream about a certain type of home, or a certain type of house, what it's telling you is this is exactly what you're doing. This is what you're aiming towards. It may be something good, maybe something not so good, but at least it gives you those very clear clues. It's always wonderful when you have a vision of a house, and you're transversing different floors in the house, because like I said, then you understand, okay, this represents movement. This is spiritual. I'm going from the subconscious mind. Then I'm on the second floor. That means I'm in the active consciousness. I'm going into the third floor. Third floor, the attic, that usually deals with the superconscious or the spiritual consciousness. So again, like I said, in many of us, what lies above us scares us. We go up to the attic, it's dusty, there's cobwebs and all. We don't want to go up there. Well, you don't want to go up to the attic, and many of you don't want to go down to the basement. And they both represent the higher aspects of your spirit and your consciousness. I don't want to go up to the superconscious. I don't want to go down to the subconscious. I just want to stay in between where it's more fake. You ever have somebody know someone that when they have company come over, they only clean the room that the company's going to be in? They'll clean the downstairs bathroom, the family room, do a once over in the kitchen, and then light some incense. Meanwhile, upstairs is a horrid mess. No, don't use bathroom upstairs. No, I said you use bathroom down here. That's a form of that. Remember, what lies totally above is white light. Can't see it. What lies totally below is black light. Can't see it. So those are the scary places that we go in, that we own, because they represent our soul and individualistic spirituality. And those a lot of times are the places that we try to run and stay away from. So even the condition of those spaces in your own home are a representation of the condition of your own mind. You see, because you are the house of light. Your home is the house of light, or your house is a house of light, the house of knowledge. It tells us who and what you are. You as a person, as an identity, you tell us what's going on with the Orisha inside of you. Because if you can understand the homes as representations of the Orisha inside of your home, the rooms as representations, then you can also understand the different dimensions and characteristics, even your own bodily organs, as being the representation of the Orisha inside of you. That's why a lot of times you can tell exactly where a person is just by the projection that they give off in the room. I was sharing this yesterday about my book. A lot of times when people say, "Oh, I read Grassroots Divine Power," I could tell they didn't read it just by what they're projecting. Sometimes it's the question they ask. It's, no, if you read my book, you wouldn't be asking that question. Or here's the other favorite one. Yeah, I did your class. Yeah, I went through the class. I can tell when somebody's went through my class. I know the difference. There's a huge difference when you've gone through my class. You're not going to still keep asking the same questions. You're going to listen when somebody's talking to you. You're going to know what your life purpose is. You're going to know what your animal allies are, your natural allies. You would have done a lot of work with your chakras already. So when I speak to you, I'm feeling a balanced energy, because I can tell when your chakras are out of balance. You're going to have a strong sense of divination and doing readings for yourself. You're going to know how to do home cleanses. So like if you say you did my class and then you call me and say, "Yeah, I feel like I got this energy in my house and I don't know how to get rid of it," I know you didn't do my class, because you would have had a more intelligent question surrounding an energy. You didn't do it, or you're not listening to my shows, or you didn't read the book. Okay, I know if you've done the Male, if you've done the difficult work, or if you've done the cursory work. You see, are you still a Muslim when Ramadan comes around? Like, oh man, I didn't time it. I'm hungry. Are you still a Muslim when it comes time? Because you don't have these are things you have to do. Are you still adherent to your traditions when the tenants come up and I have to perform these certain tenants, or is it convenient? You see, so it's the same thing in your house. Are you just living in a house, or are you doing the work to make that house a home? And in order to make that house a home, there has to be certain balancing components and balancing agents present in that home. If that's not present, then you do not have an ordered home. You still just have that primordial gift of chaos that needs organization. And throwing everything into a bunch of boxes and putting them in the back of your closets is not organization. Just like taking in a bunch of information from a bunch of different sources and or buying a bunch of different books and throwing them on your shelf is not mental organization. You may still have mental disarray or mental disorder or mental fragmentation until you do the difficult things, and that's having the hard conversations and facing the hard road and walking through the hallways of your life and looking at what's going on through your transitions. Am I really traversing this road in this hallway like I'm supposed to? Or am I skipping and running and jumping over everything just to get to the next space, which is just going to be more chaos and disarray anyway? So a home without a family, a house without a family, a house without a balance is like the primordial chaotic substance of Olokun, or what some of you like to call Noon. But you have Noon, and then you also have Nut, right? So Nut is that highest aspect of bringing everything into a space where it can hang and be ordered and arranged. Nut arranges what we call the Arawo or the Iwawo, which is the Yoruba word for stars. Well, Iwawo is also a fragmentation of the word or connected to the word Awo. Awo is the priest or the holder of mysteries. So it is the great sky. It is the great sky energy of Nut that holds together all the priests and priestesses in the world. Okay. Now, Nut for us in the Yoruba will be Olorun, the owner of the sky, the owner of heavens, or really what that represents is the owner of the invisible realm. The invisible realm. That the owner of that is Nut. She owns the invisible darkness of the night sky. Olorun owns the invisible spear of night and the morning star or the daytime sky. You see, so that connects you to not only again the energy of the addict, but it's the unseen realities that are holding all of the forces together in our life. Are we still in that space of chaos before order has been established? So many of us are. Look at your homes. Are you happy with your rooms? Are you happy with your hallways? Are you happy with your kitchen? Or are they in disarray and chaos? And chaos that you've chosen to push to the side. Now think about your mind. Are you happy with the way you think? Are you happy with your mental process? And I don't mean a cursory, light, fluffy happiness. Like, oh yeah, everything's wonderful. Everything's bliss. I mean, truly, have you done the difficult work, or do you run from the difficult work like I spoke about last night? Because at the end of the day, you're only semi making yourself comfortable by fooling yourself. Because when people come to your home, they see what's really going on. They know. They know the moment. They know when they're walking to your door. You can feel and sense the vibration of a person's home before you even get to the front door. They know what's going on in your mind at that point. So something for you all to give some thought about. All right. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. And I'll be back this Sunday for Chief Speaks. And remember that we have also on November 11th, we have the Magic of Alchemy. We'll be giving more details on that soon, but we're going to be doing a webinar on alchemy. All right. So I want to make sure you all come out to that and enjoy that. All right. So in any event, this has been Foundational Friday. I am Chief Yuya. I urge you all to comment on the videos. I've been checking out the comments, reading them. Thank you all for your comments and for your little insights you've shared as far as how the shows, are hitting you and affecting you. I ask you definitely share them, share them out to people who you feel could use them, especially those who like to interpret dreams or having dreams about houses and homes. Hopefully this has been an exhaustive, semi-exhaustive demonstration of the different aspects and components of what a home represents, and the idea of getting your house in order, and those warnings to getting your house in order. What it really represents is getting yourself in order, getting the Amole or the house of life, turning it into the home of life, and not doing foolish things that now create a much more cobwebbed and junky home environment or junky mind environment. Okay. So again, I will be back this Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern for Chief Speaks. Make sure you sign up for that webinar. If you are not a student of the Sadulu House Spiritual Center, I urge you to become a student. Okay. Readings and all that stuff, you know what you can do. If you go to any of the sites, you can contact us for readings, classes. The class information is on saduluhouse.com. If you look at the description to this show tonight, you'll see for classes, go to www.saduluhouse.com. So for classes, go there. You don't have to send an email to us. For spiritual consultations, go to www.orishareligion.com. Okay, so we got a bunch of different sites that you can go to and kind of link up and get the same type of information. Also, you know that we have an enlightenment and transformation forum on enlightenmentandtransformation.com. So feel free to use that. We're still getting it off the ground, so it's not fully in swing yet, but it will be. All right, but you can always go and register, and we'll be sending out little stuff and blogs and stuff through the forum itself. All right, so thank you all for tuning in on this Friday night, and please enjoy the rest of your evening. Please process what it is that you've heard and become stronger and wiser, and make sure that spiritual action is now following the spiritual revelation that you've come into. Until such time, Hotepu.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.